Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you already know, this is your U.S. General. 5-drawer tool card with side tray and deep compartment. Today is Wednesday, as you can see. We now back over at the storage unit, getting back to it, getting busy as always. Okay. In today's video segment will be a mixture of content. All right. In this particular video, I will address some previous questions that is asked by some subscribers in the comments in past videos and things like that of that nature, just as well as there'll be some informative information and some tips for some of the younger technicians coming into the field, just starting off. All right. But I ain't gonna hold you up too much more longer in the introductory of things. But as I always state, as usual, I always keep my signature lingering somewhere in the background. My Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You already know. Okay. So pretty much I'm going to address, quite a few questions that has been asked in the past on certain particular videos, and some of the main questions at times from individuals looking in on the content. Some see, the U.S. General 5-drawer tool cart in a storage unit, and a lot of times when, they take a look at some of the equipment, a lot of equipment is new, just as well as there's some equipment that is not new. A lot of viewers at times, they comment on certain particular videos that ask, am I even using my tools, or do I work professionally and things like that? Because, they assume that, my tools look so clean and things like that. In the past, I have thrown out videos when I was in a professional shop working daily, 6 days a week, okay, and how I would technically, clean a particular tool after I would use it. As soon as I would be finished, a lot of times when I be in a shop, I wear latex gloves just as well as impact gloves. Some individuals don't like working with gloves. Everybody's hand sizes is different. Everybody's grip pause is different and things like that. So I will touch a little bit about that in this particular video, just as well as I'll give some tips to some of them younger technicians out there concerning whether you should be organized with your equipment. Okay. So first, I'm going to start off with how, I keep a lot of my equipment looking clean, a lot of my equipment looking brand new. All right. When it comes to sockets and socket wear and things as such as rust, depending upon where you store your tools and where you keep your tools at, and climate conditions and things like that, I do at times come in and use two different solutions to clean up a lot of my equipment, just as well as dirt, grit, oil, and things like that. When I'm in a professional shop, I spray down my sockets, and not just spray down my sockets, I actually use an air chuck to blow things out. All right. So more enough that kind of keeps things very clean. All right. A lot of individuals, they may not necessarily do that. So that's another reason for why, a lot of sockets and things like that, they still look in good condition, or they look like they're never really used like that. But I'm going to show you some solutions that I use to keep some of my tools clean, just as well as I have demonstrated in the past in certain particular videos. I believe I did put out a video where I came into the storage unit, to take a good look at some of my specialized equipment and how I lubricate and keep some of my specialized equipment that's not used on a regular basis, okay, oiled and greased and things like that, because of the climate atmosphere that the equipment is in, to keep it from rusting. All right. So I'm going to get out quite a few items and give you a little demonstration real quick and show you what time it is. So let's get it. All right, so in the past, I have put out quite a few videos that not necessarily has been viewed much in the past. All right, so I will leave some of those videos in the link in the description of this particular video right here. All right, but what I want to show you is that when it comes to like some of this high red Milwaukee equipment, just as well as some of the Snap-on soft grip handles and things like that, and when it comes to sockets, just as well as I will show you like hypothetically speaking, like this U joint socket. Okay, as you can see, I haven't lubricated this much as of lately, and as you can see, the wear, if the camera is picking it up well enough, where you see that it's slightly rusting a little bit. Okay, and you can see the surface wear. All right, so what I'm going to show you real quick, because a lot of the sockets, they look new when they're actually not. All right, so some of the solutions that I use basically to clean up the sockets. As you can see, this is a lubricating oil for air operated tools and equipment. All right, this is mainly more used for your impact guns. All right, to lubricate your impact guns. And what I do is, when it comes to like the sockets and metal surfaces, I make a mixture of between the WD 40 and this lubricating oil for air operated tools and equipment. So this is what you would basically see here in this spray bottle. Okay, so a lot of times when I would be in the shop, after I finish using particular sockets day in day out, and they get a little wear, they get grease build up and things like that, I always would spray down the sockets. Now I'm gonna give you a good example of the process as far as how I would normally do it. As you can see right here, right, is a rubber tire repair prep. All right, in most instances, when you use this spray, it dries like instantly and automatically, like there's no wiping or anything. But what happens is because this removes like grime and grit and things like that from tires, when you spray it on the sockets, it separates everything. Okay, it dissolves, the grease and the grime and the grit. And once I'm finished using this on, like, say for instance, a socket rail, I would have give you a good example here. These are some of my most standard sizes. All right, so I would take this spray right here, I would spray down the whole rail from inside to out, and then I would use an air chuck and blow out the inside, to keep the grit and the grime and keep the sockets from rusting. Then once they're replaced, then I would use this solution right here, to keep them greased and lubricated, just as well as if you were purchasing a brand new set of sockets. And in some cases, you would receive your sockets already pre-lubricated, but after a use or two, they get dried, and they get warm because it's a lot of friction and a lot of heat. Okay, so that's how I mainly more keep, a lot of the sockets and things like that very clean. So for those individuals out there who ask those questions, why is my tool so clean, or do I even use my tools and things like that? Yes, I use my tools very often. It's just unfortunately at the prior moment that some of my equipment is basically in a storage unit. So this is where I'm giving the videos and the content from. So to give you a little idea of what I was talking about with the U-joint socket, right, I'm gonna give this a spray down real quick. And when I'm spraying things down, a lot of times I don't apply these solutions directly on certain particular items, but what I use is a microfiber soft cloth. All right, so I'm gonna get one of those cloths out right now, and I'm gonna spray it down, and then I'm gonna wipe out everything so that you can get a good look. All right. All right, so I have my microfiber cloth out. I just sprayed it down real quick. So as you can see now, you don't necessarily see all the rust, but there is certain particular heavy wear, all right, on the particular socket in certain particular areas, where that is the finish. Okay, but this is how some of the sockets, that sit within the cart, they look basically new, because if you were taking a look at things up close and personal, you would basically see the difference. You can't really see the difference through the video lens and the camera. The camera's not technically picking up everything, because of the lighting that I actually have here in this storage. But this is how, I keep a lot of different things clean. And once again, this is a lubricating oil for operated tools and equipment. All right. So to give you a little example of what I use the rubber tire repair prep for, all right, get out quite a few items and we're going to take a look at a few things. Okay, anybody who knows, when you have certain particular Snap-on equipment, or just say certain particular Milwaukee equipment, and you know how they have their rubber handles, is, as soon as you touch them, they pick up fingerprints and oil very quick. Okay, when it comes to some of this equipment, depending upon how you work, it's very hard to keep things clean. This is another reason for why I state that I wear latex gloves a lot when I'm working. And if I'm not wearing latex gloves, I wear impact gloves. All right. But these handles do pick up a lot of prints. All right. And after use, whether it's either, Milwaukee or any high red surface equipment. All right. I use this tire repair prep on particular tools and handles like these. All right, so I'm gonna give you a little demonstration. The lighting is not really doing so well, or the camera is not focusing in properly, but I want to give you a little example. Let's see, as far as a wipe down, and so that you can see how they clean off. I guess I'll use these real quick, just as well as, like, some of your Milwaukee housings and things like that, of that nature, just as well as let me see something here, like, say for instance, your 1/4 inch stubbies and your Milwaukee equipment and things like that. And most majority of the times, as you can see, I keep protective boots on all of my equipment, just as well as I also keep rubber grips on my equipment. All right. But when I have latex gloves on, or I have impact gloves on, around this area, it does get filthy, it gets grimy and things like that. But once again, I go to this rubber tire repair prep to, keep these areas and surfaces clean. Another thing to mention, right, as you notice how I have the rubber grips on this 1/4 inch stubby right here, right? And if you notice at the back end how the rubber sits, you know, flush to the back. See, this comes back like this. So for some individuals who be having issues with some of their batteries staying in the handles and things like this is so tight that, it keeps the battery locked in. And I have these on the 1/4 inch hex, my 1/4 inch stubby, just as well as my 3/8 stubby, and quite a few other tools. In a lot of videos that I put in the past, I have shown this and demonstrated that, but I never went as far to, show, how this actually keeps the batteries, locked in very tight. And, once I take the pistol grip and I take these protector boots off, like, the tools look completely brand new. All right. It's not to say that they don't get used or anything like that. You can see, a little wear and stuff like that on the protective boots up close in person. When I'm taking visual from a distance, it's hard to see certain things, right? You would think that, things is not being used, or things doesn't have wear. One thing that I like about these Tekton sockets is that when it comes to the finish, they have been kind of holding up a little fairly on some sockets. They haven't been fading like most sockets do, in some instances. Like on this 21 millimeter, you see a lot of wear, scuff marks and things like that. But the laser etching is still there. It's starting to wear now, but it's starting to wear now after, using these consistently. And I have these now roughly over a year and some change, just as well as I have plenty other impact sockets that I actually go to. But I was putting these through the test a lot. I really liked it, these right here. They was reasonable. They haven't really mushroomed off much from the back from hammering, just slightly. And this is only within a year's time. All right. So I'm gonna get that microfiber cloth out real quick and give you a little demonstration, just as well as like when it comes to some of the Milwaukee screwdrivers and stuff like that. All of this stuff, it gets dirty, just as well as how I have the Ingersoll and I have a great protector boot. This protector boot is forever getting dirty. It actually starts to discolor from me actually cleaning it so much, or cleaning the tools so much. That's the only particular tool that's noticeable up front, up close in person, just as well as my half-inch 2235 Q Max, because those are mainly more used more than anything. They're used more than the cordless equipment because I'm normally used to using airlines. All right. All right, so this won't be so easy trying to do all of this with one hand and holding the camera. If I was in a shop, I would normally have certain things in a vise because it makes it more easier for me to demonstrate. But as you can see, this is a clean rag, so I'm gonna wipe it down real quick. So I was just wiping it down and it's semi-clean. I don't know whether the camera is actually picking up the excess dirt that was basically on it. Maybe I should have pulled another tool that's more dirtier, because I do keep a lot of different things clean. Just give me a second. Like, say for instance, these handles get dirty right kind of quick. As you notice, where it comes where the Milwaukee sign would normally be, this will show how I actually clean the handles, because if you take notice, everything is all white. So this is a particular screwdriver that is used very commonly and heavily. All right. And it gets dirty a lot, but just as well as I also clean it a lot. So I'm gonna spray this down real quick so that you can get a good look. So the camera is not really picking up all the dirt that's in the cloth, like how you would normally see if you was standing up close. But this is what I basically use, to keep all the handles and all of this red equipment clean when it comes to certain white areas, like as far as the labeling and things like that. And some of those areas, I keep a lot of them clean. But there are some tools that are used more heavily than others, more commonly used sizes and things like that. So, this is how I basically keep a lot of different things clean, just as well as when it comes to like my ratchet handles and things like that. Like I was saying, I have put out videos in the past. Like, a lot of this equipment is not as new as some individuals would assume or would think, or not unused, because I will be able to show you that in some of the videos and the links to the description, in a professional shop, and me showing you, me putting ratchet inside of a vise and spraying it down and cleaning it and dropping it into a bucket of oil and things like that, like, filthy, dirty, grimy, contaminated oil and stuff like that. So in items like, your clip popper by Mako. All right. All right, so real quick, for those younger techs out there, you have to ask yourself, is it, a good thing to be organized with your equipment? All right, there are some mechanics out there who are more organized than some other mechanics. There's a lot of technicians who've been in the field for a very long time. All right, and a lot of in most cases, they never go out their way to explain that yes, they have tools all over the place and things like that. And at a bird's eye view, they know what particular tool that they need to get when they need to pick it when called upon. But the thing is not all technicians work on the same vehicles day in, day out. Some individuals, they work on very specific, precise vehicles daily and very routinely. There's a difference when you're in an independent shop and a dealership. When you're working in a dealership, you're working with a lot of new make model vehicles. So therefore, you'll be less likely to see a lot of older make model vehicles. The particular shop that I worked in was a high volume shop located in a higher volume location. So we used to see a lot of different vehicles, whether older make model vehicles, just as well as the most newest updated vehicles on the road, because I used to service a lot of dealership and contracted vehicles, all right, just as well as recreational vehicles and things like that of that nature. So it's always good to be organized. It does speak volumes when you're in a professional settings, all right. It makes things a whole lot much more easier, because when you're less organized, it becomes more time consuming when you have to search and scramble around for certain particular items and things like that of that nature. And that's another way of you misplacing certain tools, or losing certain particular tools that can be very important, all right, that may not always be available by the shop, that may be provided by you, or you can't always rely upon whether the next technician is going to actually have it, to compensate for you in the time being. So I suggest that you get very well organized. It does speak volumes, and it speaks different levels about yourself in general, all right. So I'm going to end this video right about here. Everybody have a safe and a blessed one as always. And into that next tool review, that next tool haul, that next modification video, we going to check you later. Peace.